In this example, we're going to use a comma-separated values file, CSV, that was created from a spreadsheet application for our super elevation transitions and cross slopes. So in this case, we're not going to use an SCP or an SRL file. We're going to bring all that information in. So we have non-ruled super elevation lanes. We're going to start by drawing our sections. And again, I'm going to use my main, which is my alignment name. I'm going to select my alignment, starting and ending stations. And now if I was using a rules file, it automatically splits each curve into its own curve set. And the reason for using individual curve sets is that if I want to rerun my rules in a particular area, for example, maybe a design speed changed or I changed a horizontal or vertical curve, the curve sets allow me to reprocess one curve set without having to reprocess the entire alignment. Well, in this case, I'm not going to be processing one small piece. If I need to make changes, I'll either do it in the CSV file and import again, or I'll go in and make the changes in the editor or on my lanes. And so what I want to do is I just want to draw one great big super section. And I can do that by setting my minimum tangent length larger than any of the tangents between the curve. So I set mine to 5,000 because I know I have nothing that long. A data point, and you can see that it draws one great big long shape. Next I need to draw my lanes, and so I'm going to go ahead, and again we can do these in any order, so I'll just do the left side first. I'm going to call the first one left 1, and it's going to be a primary lane, which means I'm going to attach a CSV file to it or a rules file to it, either one. Then it wants to know on which side of the road we are, so we're on the left. I'm going to go from 0 and make it 12 feet wide, and my crossover is minus 1.5. Then I'm going to do the next one, and I'm going to use LT2. Again, it's primary. If I was putting in, for example, a turn lane that was either based on the adjacent lane or I was going to just assign a fixed value to it, then I could go ahead and set it to auxiliary, which is the other type. Okay, we're still on the left side. This time we're starting from 12, and we're going to 24. And this time my cross slope is going to be a minus 2. And you can see now that I've still got, or I have got, 2 lanes on the left-hand side. And I'm going to go ahead now and do my right side. And I'm going to do the outside lane first, because then I can reuse quite a few of my prompts. And again, it's going to be a primary. And in this case, I want to make sure I change it because we're now on the right side of the road. And we're going to go from 12 out to 24, and we're going to use a minus 2. And now you can see it created a yellow lane there. And then to finish it off, I'm going to do that inside right lane. I'll call that one 1. And we're on the right side. We're going to go from 0. And it doesn't look like it took that because it still had something in the field. So we'll go ahead and change it from 0. It's going to be 12 feet wide. And in this case, I want a minus 1.5 for my cross slope. And note, you don't have to type the percent or anything. It automatically puts that on for you. And now you can see I have all 4 lanes there. All right, so then I'm ready to, I'm done entering lanes, so I'm going to reset to get out of that command. And now it's going to prompt me for calculating supers, but I don't really want to calculate super. I want to import super elevation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what it's going to do, it's going to prompt me for the name of my super elevation file. So let's go out and take a look and see what that looks like so that we know what we're actually importing. And so we're going to go ahead and we're using an import an entire project. So I'll open that up in an editor. And we can see that pretty simple file. It's got my super elevation lane name, which is LT-1. It's got my stationing. Then it's got whatever I want to use for a slope. And so in this case, you can see it's the first line is 0 slope. The next one is a 0.06, which would be a 6%. This is double value, not percentage. and then it wants to know if it's on the left side or the right side. And that's all that we have. And you can see I just have a whole string of them. So I've got my left turn, or my left lane, my second left lane, which is my turn lane. I can do my right first lane and my right second lane. And you can do as little or as much. In this case, I've got my whole project built in this way. But I could just, for example, do one turn lane or one piece of it somewhere, okay, as long as I have the lanes already drawn. Now let's take a look and see exactly how we got to those prompts and what some of the other options are. So let's take a look at so you can see our workflow is we basically created our section or sections, we created our lanes, we're going to use our importing that we've already done, and then we can assign it to the corridor and do edits and reports just as if it was lanes that were created and developed with any of the SEP or SRL files. It is a comma separated value file, and it does use the Windows delimiter, and most people do have that set to a comma. But if you run into a problem, you may want to check in your Windows 7 settings and see what's used as a delimiter, and you may have to adjust. Okay, I just showed you one file that I was using, which basically had the super elevation, name of the lane, station, and cross slope. But there's a lot more of the parameters that you can use. And so if you used all of the parameters, you can see here I have an example line of what that is. However, I used the minimal amount, which is basically the lane, the station, the cross slope, and the side of the road. And you can see here some of the information. This is the required information that I just mentioned. And you can see we've got the name, station, cross slope, pivoting. Okay. And you'll notice down here under the pivoting where I said left side, it's only used for the parabolic or the symmetrical. However, it is required, and so the easiest thing is just to put either left side, right side, and you've got it made. The other thing, again, cross slopes, make sure that you show with the minus sign if you need it. And if you're using, for example, 2%, then you're going to have 0.02. We also have the optional data, and that includes some point types, which is the normal crown, normal in, normal crown out, the full super in and out, reverse crown, level crown, and undefined. And a lot of these point types are used in quite a few of the reports. And so it doesn't affect the calculations, that's why it's optional. But if you want it to come out in your reports, and that's important to you, well, you may want to include that. It can also be added afterwards in the editor if you want. There's also a variety of transition types. If you're giving it the station, the transition, you've probably already figured that out, but once again, you can use the various types. And the last one is the nonlinear curve length. All right, so let's go back to our demo. So now you can see that I'm going to go ahead and call up that file, which was my entire project.csv file, and I'll accept that. Then it wants to know where my super elevation section is, so I'm going to come down, identify my section. I already got my file included, so I can just data point. The one thing to keep in mind now is that when you name your lanes, and if you remember right, I used R1 or RT-1, RT-2, LT-1, LT-2. That has to match up with what's in your import file. If those names don't match up, it won't know how to find these lanes that I drew, and it won't be able to attach the calculations to it. And you can see that, once again, it looks just like any other super elevation. So, for example, if I go in and I click on any of the lanes, you can see that all the values are there, and they can be edited, etc.